revisiting the Splash series. I still have not perfected this technique, and I want to perfect it because I want to do a very large piece. But in order to do a very large piece, I need to get a lot faster at this. It's been taking me about 2 hours to complete one of these. My goal is to get it down to 30 minutes so that if I'm doing a big piece, then I have my 2 hours of work time, because that's about all you can get before it starts to set up on you. It'll start getting thick and you'll get some skins, and then it gets harder to blend, and then it starts getting lumpy, and that is no bueno. When I'm doing a piece like this, I always use Floetrol because it does give me more work time. If I were to use like Liquitex or Golden with this, it would set up a lot quicker and I would wind up with a lot more texture. Maybe that's what you want. That could also be cool. Just gave me some thoughts. So these paints are mixed, 1 part paint to 2 parts Floetrol. And I didn't really thin them at all. The consistency that I want is about a 3 on my consistency scale. I want it to make a mound, a nice thick mound. And the colors that we have going here, I'm only using 3 colors. I have a mix of the golden in phthalo blue green shade and the phthalo green blue shade, and I use about 2 parts green to 1 part blue for this particular shade. The blue is very strong, very strong. This is a 16 by 20 Artist Loft gallery wrapped canvas. And yeah, let's do this. Before we get started, have you seen the Fluid Art inspiration cards? If you have, just fast forward about a minute. But if you have not, what we have are 52 cards. There are 42 technique cards, and each technique card has an associated video here on YouTube, a photo of that particular technique and video, a box here that has a tip for that particular technique, and your color palette at the bottom. And these 2 boxes can be used as the basis of a 2-color palette, or you can add to that. And then there are 8 bonus color palette cards. Each one has 5 color palettes. You can use all of those colors in the palette or just use some of them, and you can mix and match the techniques with the color palettes and get hundreds of thousands of combinations. These cards are available at GinaDeLuca.net. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is lay down my base color, my lightest color. I may have gone a bit too dark with this. I guess we shall see. But once it's up against the darker colors, it will appear much lighter than it is.
Okay, I am switching to voiceover for 2 reasons. One, because I had to do this in high speed because the painting itself took about 70 minutes, which is half the time that the previous ones have taken me. They were usually, actually, I think I would basically work them until they started to dry. So, some of them were like 2.5 hours. So I'm definitely getting the technique down better. The other reason I'm doing the voiceover is because if you are listening on a stereo device like headphones or your computer, there was something really weird going on with many of my previous videos, and hopefully I have figured out what that is. But in the meantime, voiceover action. So what I'm doing here is sketching this out with the lightest color, that I have and just kind of getting my form together. And I like to start with the lightest color, so if I do mess up, it is the easiest to fix. And with these splashes, what I've found is the more contrast that you have going on, the more realistic it looks. So even though I could do this with just this one color and have it look like a splash, when you add the other colors, it just really starts to come to life. And you'll see I'll come in with the dark next. Yes, so this is my darkest color. So I start with the lightest, and then I come in with the darkest, and then I will go for that mid-tone, and then do the dark again and the light again. And building it out like that really seems to bring it to life. So just like with water drops, you know, there's always going to be the reflection in the water, you know, of the darkest part, and the light one, you know, like the lightest part. You have all of these reflections going on within it, like a diamond. So, you know, some things it's reflecting are lighter, and some things it's reflecting are darker, and you just keep adding to it until it starts to feel like something. You know, and this, now it's starting to look, oh, this kind of looks a little harsh. But then you add that mid-tone, and the mid-tone will add another layer of depth to it. And then you bring in the highlights and the shadows again, and then boom, it looks amazing. I do love this combination of that phthalo blue and phthalo green. It just makes such a beautiful color. Okay, so these darkest parts, that's going to be where the shadows are going to be the darkest. And right now I'm just kind of swiping in that darker color, being mindful of the direction that it's going. This is really important with trying to do the splash, is the direction of your swipes. That's what's really going to give you your shape. So now just blending these in a bit, and that will actually give it some texture. And I know this looks difficult, and you know it is, you know, it is a challenge, but the more you do them, the easier they do get. You will find, as with anything. So, you know, the first one of these that I did took me almost 3 hours, and then this one took me 70 minutes. The next time I do it will probably be even shorter. My goal is to do a gigantic one of these, but I have to be able to work fast enough that the paint won't dry on me, especially on a bigger canvas. They seem to soak up the paint a lot faster. So now I'm bringing in that mid-tone. Blending, being mindful of the direction. And the beautiful thing is, it's like, if you don't like how it looked, then you can just come back in with another color right over top of it. You don't have to wait for it to dry. You just, you know, worst case scenario, you scrape it and add more paint. Just scrape the area, not the whole piece, of course. But see, now I'm looking at this and I'm like, I feel like I need that top part to be a little more clear than it was. And now this area is kind of like 2 layers of water overlapping, so that needs to be darker. The more layers of water, the deeper it is, the darker it will be. Was trying to fix the air that the shapes, the direction was bugging me here. Okay, yeah, so now I'm trying to add that deeper color in right there, because that is kind of where the water is the thickest. Don't know what word I'm looking for there. And blending. And the cool thing is, because it's water and you're working with, fluid paints, it really lends itself very well to creating a fluid look. And having a loose hand is really helpful. You don't really want it to be perfect. So when I'm doing these outlines, if it's not perfect, that's okay, because it just looks like another reflection. Coming back in with the white here, or not the white, but the lightest color. Putting in some of those highlights, some reflections. And I'm kind of rolling, I'm just using a skewer there, and I'm rolling it as I swipe it. So now I'm going in and making sure that the background water is where I want it to be, because that is going to start setting up on me. I don't do that right away. I like to see where the subject of the painting is going first. Kind of like, when you're putting on makeup, you don't put your blush on first. You want to do everything else and then add the blush. Okay, so here I am working on building more depth. Coming back in with the darkest color. Getting those shadows. And the dark color does kind of sink into the lighter color. So sometimes you have to go over that more than once if it seems like I'm being repetitive. And also, you may have noticed that I poured a little bit of the lightest color into a separate cup. It just helps to keep it from contaminating it. And I'm gonna work this area again because I'm still not liking it. I wanted it to be clear that that splash is in the back. So now I'm doing the edge of the splash that is the furthest in the back, and it's shining through the splash that's in front of it. It was a tricky thing, but I did wind up getting it. And I think the next time it will be easier. Yeah, I'm just trying to blend that out just a little bit. put a little bit of motion in there. Again, it is all about reflections and shadows. So I just keep making them until they feel right. And if you get a little drip somewhere, it's okay. You just blend it in. The shadows and highlights. Now it's really starting to come together. Okay, so now we're moving on to the droplets. I just start with a little dot or circle of the darkest color. And then I come back and add a drop of the lightest color in the center of it. And it makes a great water droplet. Very, very simple. Also trying to make sure I round out any of the edges on the splash itself. Making sure nothing is too angular. And again, they're super easy to fix if you mess up. The splashes are actually pretty forgiving. And they definitely get easier with practice. Yeah, I was still kind of feeling like it wasn't clear enough what was in the foreground and what was in the back. So I was trying to tweak that a bit more. Okay, now adding the droplet of the lightest color. It's so simple. The first one of these that I did when I was trying to do the droplets, like I struggled. They just did not look wonderful. And then the second one that I did, I had figured out this way of doing it. And I am wiping off that skewer in between and picking up more paint. Okay, adding more of the highlight again. Cleaning up that one because it was bugging me. And here I am showing you how if you mess it up, you can fix it. And just coming in with some more of the highlights. And that's it. Stay tuned for the close-ups. Okay, here it is. These are always funny. Up close, they really don't look like anything. But when you pull away and look at it from a distance, it looks like a thing. Kind of like a Monet painting, sort of.
Up close, it's just a bunch of dots. And then you back away and it's something amazing. But there it is. Hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, do check out the description box below. After you click like and share if you feel so inclined, check out the description box for links to my website, GinaDeLuca.net, where you can find my art and music and fluid art inspiration cards for sale. Also, you'll find the link to my Amazon store where most of the items that I use can be found. And if you do not see it in my store, anything that you purchase off the entire site of Amazon, I will make a small commission of it, no additional cost to you, as long as you enter through that link. Also, you will find the link to Go Make Some Art, our Facebook group. Join us there. Post your masterpieces, ask your questions, get some inspiration. That's where you'll find all the good stuff. All right, y'all. That is it for me for today. I hope y'all have a beautiful day. Now go make some art.